Well, greetings. I'm about to share with you my adventure on my first day out on my new dual sport and how it went. This is my first experience in sand and my first trip really off-roading with my new CRF450 RL. I've been riding for 30 plus years, but it's all been street. As far as experience with motorcycles, well, a motorcycle was my first car. I got my motorcycle when I was 18, I was in the Navy, and ever since then, I've been riding street bikes the entire time. My first bike was a CRF450 V30 Magna. I drove that across country twice and put 65,000 miles on that bike. Since then, I've owned a V65 Magna, a CX500X, a Goldwing 2016, and my current 2021 Goldwing. And over the time that I've been riding, I've put about 125,000 miles down. Once again, those are all street. So this is my new adventure, and I'm going to try the dirt. So before the trip, I did all the standard things of trying to gather as much information as I could for what I could expect. I went to the YouTube, I looked up all the how-to videos, the tips, how to do this, how to do that, how to drive in sand, what to expect. But the reality of it is that you cannot explain the feeling of riding on dirt in deep sand from a video. After the trip, I was trying to find the words that would explain the sensation of what it's like to ride in sand, and came to the realization that I really couldn't do it unless someone else had a sense of what you were talking about. It would be like trying to explain to somebody what it feels like to go in the ocean and feel a swell come past you without them ever being to the ocean. It's just a different sense and a different feeling. While I'm riding, I get the sense that I'm in control, but I'm not. The bike is going to do what it wants, and you kind of just have to go with it. I have to admit, this first stretch in the sand got me pretty unnerved. I couldn't understand why the bike was not staying stable. I was holding steady throttle. I was holding onto the handlebars and trying to keep them straight. I was keeping even pressure on both foot pegs. The bike was just unsteady. It wouldn't go straight.
That's scary.
Yeah, you gotta get some speed up.
Come here, Penny.
Faster's more stable.
Yeah.
Penny,
Okay.
come here.
That's scarier though.
Yeah, there's a
There's a balance.
balance.
Okay.
Yeah, you go slow, they tend to wash out.
I was just letting it do what it was going to do.
Yeah, you go a little faster, it'll the whole momentum will just keep you going kind of straight.
Okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I've ever been known for, it's that I'm stubborn and very pig-headed. You can't really tell me what I can't do. I'm going to try it, even if I get hurt, even if I fall down. I'm going to do it. But one thing I've always prided myself on, and that's listening to advice. I'm not always right. Sometimes I am wrong, and sometimes that advice will help. So the guy said I needed to go faster, which kind of makes sense. I mean, your tires are giant gyroscopes. Gyroscopes do like to stand up. So going faster really should make you stable. Okay, I got that part. But I also remember that the faster you go, the harder you fall. And I am 53. I don't have the unreasonable expectation that I'm never going to crash. Eventually I am going to crash, so I got my gear on. That should protect me. I mean, unless I go off a cliff. But I don't expect to do that here. It is the sand dunes. So I decided we're going to kick the speed up. I put it in third gear, brought the bike up to about 30, and it really seemed to level out. So I think I'm still trying to grab some frame of reference from my motorcycle experience in the past, and I really just can't grab one. I'm trying to relate it to my Goldwing, which is solid, stable, in control, at almost any speed from 0 to 110. And this bike is never stable, never in control. Regardless of the speed so far, I mean, even 30 is not stable. It's manageable, but it's different. I guess the sensation reminds me of when I was little and put on roller skates for the first time, or ice skates at the rink. Your feet were stable if you kept them in a certain position, but if you missed that position, you were going to be on your ass. When I was little and learning how to roller skate, I earned the nickname Clumsy Kenny, and that was because whenever I had the skates on, I would go as fast as I could and try to make the corner at the end of the block. I can't count how many times I fell down trying to make that corner. But eventually I was able to go foot over foot around a corner and nobody could catch me. I've always considered my sense of balance to be pretty good. I've never really had a problem picking up an athletic activity I've tried, and I'm usually fairly decent at it. I don't expect this is going to be any different. It just takes time in the saddle to get used to this. So, I'm here to put time in the saddle. So, I do own GoPros. I do have them. I've got the batteries. I've got all the chips. But I've never really wanted one strapped to my helmet. I do have mounts for the bike, but don't think they look very good and kind of just get in the way. And I don't really want to keep track of batteries and all that stuff. So I chose to install dash cams on my motorcycles. I've got a dash cam front and rear on the Goldwing, and I installed a dash cam on this front and rear. So it's always plugged in, it's always got power, and if anything ever happens, I can always go back to the chip and pull the recording and see what happened. Dash cams are really handy for when stuff like this happens. I guess you pay for what you get, and that's what I get for buying a cheap flag off Amazon. So Glamis is pretty huge. It's about 40 miles long by 5 miles wide. Now you can't ride all of it, but there's more than enough room for you to go anywhere you want, and the amount of sand is just amazing. So I was on my way to the store to see what they had there, get a better lay of the land, and figure out what was going on, when I realized there was a dirt highway running right along this road. And there were a bunch of people on it that were driving on that. And I figured, well, I was here to drive in the dirt, so I better get my ass in the sand and learn some more. So to ride in the sand, you're supposed to go faster to stay on top of it. But if you come to a dead stop, well, it's hard to get going again and get enough speed to stay on top of it. So it seems I'm having problems getting started in this stuff. So we're going to have to work on that. Well, there you have it. I'd been here less than an hour, and I've already gone over the handlebars, off the edge of a sand dune lip. So now I'm a little rattled, and I end up getting myself stuck in the sand because I don't realize I'm trying to drive up a small hill, which would work on normal dirt, but sand is not dirt, and you're just going to dig yourself in. And promptly buried the swing arm down to the sand. So one of the tips for Glamis was not to drive over the top of a dune unless you know what's on the other side. Well, I knew about the tip, and I was looking for it, and I just didn't see it. It was camouflaged so well. All of a sudden there was sand in front of me, and then there wasn't. It was shocking how quick it came up on you. I can see how people could do that on a giant dune and really get hurt. Now, I wasn't really that high in the air. I mean, I basically locked the front wheel and the bike pivoted over itself and then tumbled down the edge. So, all in all, I would consider this a pretty mild crash as far as crashes go. But even though the crash was mild, it still rattled me. I mean, I left my motorcycle unintentionally. That's really not supposed to happen on the street. And yet here, it's forgivable to a point. So there's probably some scientific formula that shows what the traction coefficient is of sand while you're going through it versus tire speed, but I'm pretty sure those two lines never intersect on the graph. So within the last minute, I've done two of the things I've been trying not to do the entire time. Crash and not get stuck. So, got those off the checklist. So, like I mentioned, I was pretty tired, and after the crash, I was ready to relax for a little bit. So, I kind of decided to take the road back to camp.
So as you probably saw, first ass over handlebars. You're not supposed to go off the lip of a sand dune because there could be a huge drop off. Brakes work. I think you saw I got stuck too. So yeah, I got that going for me. I think I'm going to stick around the car here and practice just riding in the sand as opposed to tackling cross country waypoints. I had my sights set on thinking China held, Wall of China, Oldsmobile Hill, swing set. I don't know if I'm going to make it out to there by the end of the day. First, I think I just need to learn how to ride in the sand, and generally how to stay on this thing without hurting myself. Lessons learned. I'll take a break and I'll head out again.
So, like I said, Glamis is pretty big. So I pretty much determined that I was only going to be riding that dirt road between my camp and the store for the rest of the day. Until I got more comfortable in the sand, there was no reason for me to go off wandering in the dunes in the middle of Glamis. It just didn't make sense. So that was my plan for the rest of the day. When I got back to camp, I realized that I had lost my flag. And it's kind of a rule in Glamis, you have to have a flag so you don't get hurt driving over the dunes. So I needed to go back to the store and get a new flag that I had lost. One of the things I do like about the Dual Sport over the Goldwing is that it's a lot lighter. I can easily move this thing around and pick it up when I need to, which turns out it's really going to be handy today. So I got my new flag, made it all the way back to camp, rested a little bit, and then decided to go on another ride just to get more practice in. As I was coming back around to where I crashed the first time, I kind of noticed some people standing around.
I crashed here this morning.
You did?
Yep, ass over handlebars.
Up there then.
Huh?
You forget to put a sign, warning?
My flag was buried in the sand. It broke off.
I see it. It's over here. White one?
Yep.
Mom, do you have your sunscreen?
Glad it's not just me. Well, no, I'm not glad actually. I'm sorry. Everybody okay?
No.
Someone's hurt?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Did you guys already call? Do you need someone to call?
No, we already did.
Okay. There's nothing I can do for you, right?
Yeah, we just were riding and saw him.
Okay.
So you did
I was coming up the thing, and before I hit the edge, I grabbed my front brake, and the thing locked up, and I went head over heels over the cliff.
Oh, shit.
With this, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Here it comes. Oh, I thought that was the ambulance.
I got it on dash cam.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and then I got stuck because my bike was pointing this way, and I was trying to go uphill.
Yeah.
So I had to drag it out myself because I'm alone,
Ooh.
which is not smart, but
Yeah.
nobody ever called me smart.
That's sad. But still,
Yep,
she's in
that's
the
when I
right.
decided to stay on this.
Yeah, on the beat path.
I thought I was going on a straight line to that building over there.
I think that's what they thought. He fell and see. He thought he was
Hopefully they didn't follow my track,
coming.
because my track goes right off.
He said he thought he was coming up to the road. She's hurt though. She's
Arm, leg,
back.
back. Uh-oh.
Back and leg. She's moving her leg.
Okay, at least she's moving. Okay guys, try to be safe.
You too, man.
So seeing someone else crash right where I had shows me that it's not inexperience necessarily that caused me to crash right there. It's that you really need to follow these rules or tips that people have given us about riding in Glamis, because it can really happen to anybody. I mean, they just happened to be going faster than I was, so they caught more air, and more air means more hurt. So you really got to watch what you're doing while you're here. So it still seems like I'm having a hard time getting started in the sand. First gear's not really working, it doesn't rev high enough, and I don't go fast enough. So I think I'm going to start starting in second to see if that'll work. So I made it all the way to the store. No more issues. Started going over the whoops and standing up and letting the bike do what it does underneath me, and pretty much stayed stable. So that was working pretty well. Generally having a much better time than I did. On the way back to camp, I noticed help had arrived for the side-by-side that had flipped. Fire was there, the Rangers were there, and they had an ambulance, so they were taking care of the lady that got hurt. I really hope she's okay. So as I was feeling more comfortable, I was picking up more speed, and the bike seemed to be staying more stable, and that was really nice. So I was kind of getting to enjoy it a little bit, and I really liked this smooth stretch of sand that was right near camp, and it kind of reminded me like you were riding a wave in the ocean. There was no bouncing around, it was just smooth, and it was really predictable, and I could pick my line and stay on it. So I'm really liking this smooth sand. I still seem to be having issues starting and stopping though. Just the bike wants to go squirrely and just throw me off of it whenever that happens. And just realized that I lost my new flag. Shit, gonna need another one. So going back to the store for yet another new flag, I passed the crash site and noticed that the car wasn't in the hole anymore. So coming up the hill, I noticed he's parked on the side of the road. It appears a couple of people are coming to go get their trailer and tow this guy back to camp. I did stop and talk to him, and he's okay, but his lady was hurt, and it appeared that they did airlift her out of there. So she was hurt pretty bad, but he did confirm that she was moving, so at least that's good. But it still sucks that someone got hurt. Yeah, this time I didn't see it. No reaction, no brakes, just off the edge at about 30 to 35 miles an hour. Let's take a look at that in real time. So yeah, this time I landed on my head. I got the helmet on, so it didn't really hurt, but I did not do a cool tuck and roll this time. That was a decent crash. So yeah, that was a pretty good crash. And it was getting towards the end of the day, and I was getting pretty tired. But I still needed to go back and get another flag, just so that I wasn't illegal while I was riding around. So I kind of just picked myself up and carried on and made my way back to the store. So I was almost back at the store, and as I was riding, I caught a flash of the American flag buried in the sand. I couldn't believe it. I had actually found my flag and was able to go back and pick it up.
Son of a bitch. I lost my flag and I fucking found it.
So when I was getting my gear and gathering all the stuff I would need to ride my bike in the sand, I kind of knew I would need a flag, and I knew I'd need a place to put it on the bike. So I went to Amazon and looked for a flag mount. And I found one, and it kind of looked like it would work. But the reality is this thing doesn't really keep your bike attached to the flag. But I also noticed that the mirror didn't break. It actually snapped off the clutch perch. And I realized that my mirror was probably still in one piece and still good and not broken. So I figured I needed to go back and collect the mirror that I lost. I was coming up to where I crashed and lost my mirror, and I was on this kind of narrow path, I guess you would call it, an offshoot, and started looking down the hill to where I crashed to see if I could see my mirror, and caught a front wheel and crashed again. This wasn't too bad, but I did get a bunch of sand in my helmet and my boots. I guess that front sun visor on my helmet scooped up a whole bunch of sand and brought it into my helmet, so had to get that out. Had to remind myself that, pay attention to where you're going and stop looking at other things, and keep your eyes on the road. So I did need to dig around a little bit to try to find my mirror. It was buried in the sand. And brought it back to the bike and noticed that there was a little hole in the bottom. And sand was draining out. So I turned on my dash cam and thought it'd be funny to record that. It had already been draining sand for about 30 seconds before I got the camera on. And this is what was left in it. And then a couple guys on dirt bikes came by and checked to see if I was okay.
Look at that. I hit it this way. Didn't see the drop.
They're dangerous.
That's the third one that got me today.
Really?
The one back there before that road got me.
Okay.
That's where the person got hurt and got airlifted. Flipped the sand buggy.
Somebody was airlifted here today?
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at this.
holy cow. Is that a 450X?
It's RL. I put the pipe on it.
Is that like the rally?
The dual sport. I don't want to get hassled by the man.
I just almost went down on one of those over there. We cut up in a little bit into the dunes a little bit. It almost got me.
It's my first day on this, so
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, it's awesome. Great way to make the first
Keep it
memory.
between 30 and 35 and you float.
Yeah. Were you okay? You good?
Oh yeah, I crashed going that way.
Alright.
I went.
Alright, just thought we'd check on you, make sure you're good.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
This old fucker's gonna hurt himself.
Alright, you have a good one.
Be safe.
Ride safe.
So it was getting pretty late in the day. It was about 4 o'clock. And I'd been riding for about 4 to 4.5 hours. And I figured it was pretty much going to be the end of the day. So I was heading back to camp and just thinking about all the stuff that happened during the day. I was getting ready and I was packing up, starting to get all my gear together, when I remembered that Glamis has another tradition that they do out here. Every day they're riding. At the end of the day, there are what they call drags at dusk. And that's where everybody goes to Gecko Road, and just before the sun sets, drag races break out. People line up their toys, whole group of people are watching, and they basically do drag races. Now, the day I came out just happened to be the last day of the season, April 15th. And to be honest, it seemed pretty dead out here. There were not very many people, at least not according to the videos that I'd seen online, but most of those videos were from major holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, New Year's. So it wasn't crowded, but the people I talked to said that there probably still would be some drag races. But I didn't know if I was up for it. I mean, I was pretty tired, so ended up taking off my gear, said I'd kind of rest for an hour and see how I felt. And if I felt well enough, maybe I'll go check them out. That was one of the reasons why I parked on Gecko Road, so I could be close to that. After my hour rest, I was actually feeling pretty good. I mean, I knew I was going to be sore tomorrow, because I'm not really in shape. But for now, I was doing okay. You know, no injuries from any of the crashes I'd had. Other than the broken perch mount for my mirror, I mean, no major damage to the bike. So I put on my gear and decided I was going to head over to the races. Should be a good time to end the day. Because it was the last day of the season, the drag races pretty much turned out to be a non-event. I think I saw a total of 3 sets of people line up and gave it the beans and did a little drag race, but there wasn't really much to watch. So I spent the rest of the time chatting with these guys next to me, and just trying to enjoy the rest of the time I had there. So, some final thoughts and conclusions on my first day in the dirt with my new bike. Choosing Glamis as my first day in the dirt on a dirt bike was probably not the wisest decision I've ever made. I'm not saying it was a bad decision, but most certainly there are several other places I could have gone to get my first taste of dirt riding and not have it be so intense and extreme. I do have friends that live in San Diego and go to Glamis quite often, and have spoken to them since this trip and told them what I did, and they thought I was stupid and crazy for doing that. But they did offer that when they go back and go to do their Glamis, saying that I was more than welcome to come along and enjoy the trip with them. So that's definitely going to be my next plan for when I go back to Glamis. Overall, I guess I'd have to say I had a great day. Did I fall down? Yep. Did I crash? Yep. Did I get hurt? Well, no, not really. Did I break stuff? Well, a clutch perch, so yeah, technically I did have damage, but overall, it was very challenging, very exciting. And after all that, I think I'm really looking forward to learning this off-road stuff. I think it's going to be a blast. And I can't wait to get back out there.